What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I am your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend, and as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. If you are joining us on YouTube today, say hello to my new apartment. We are not in the exact recording setup that I want it to be in yet, but we are getting there, and when it is done, it is going to be chef's kiss perfection. It is like 90% there. We just have to hang a few more things on the wall and then it will be all done. Hopefully this weekend we get to finish that up, and by next week's episode I will have the gorgeous backdrop that I am dreaming of. It's very similar to the backdrop that I wanted originally in our last apartment when I started the podcast, but the logistics of my last apartment, if I was to record in front of this gallery wall that we had, I would have to be like a contortionist. Like, it just would not have worked out. So I'm very happy that we have more room in this apartment and I will be able to record in front of it. And I promise you it will be worth the wait. I am very excited. But for now, this setup works. I wanted to give a little video element to the YouTube girlies, make sure I had something for my clips, for my reels, my TikToks. You guys know how the podcast cookie crumbles. That being said, from my audio girlies, not much has changed for you guys, though I did get a new microphone. I'm not using it yet. I'm still using my original mic. So I have an upgraded mic coming, a new filming setup. We're just going to have a whole little upgrade coming in the next few weeks, and I am so excited. But I wanted to, roll it all out all at once and just like start fresh, start new filming setup, new mic. So stay tuned for that. I am very excited. But that's enough about me. We have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to start the show. If you follow me on social media, you were warned that I'm going to be a little bit angsty tonight, and I think I deserve the right to be because I'm pissed. I'm crushed. I feel defeated, but you know what? Even the best fall down sometimes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Charlie XCX and Troye Sivan brought the sweat tour to MSG last night, and I was not there. Now, not being at the New York date wasn't a issue for me to begin with. I was like, you know what? New York resale is crazy, which we'll get into in a second. But I was like, if I have to go somewhere else to see this, if I have to fly somewhere, take a bus, a train, whatever it is, I will see this tour. I'm not worried about seeing the sweat tour. I will see it. But the fact that Charlie XCX brought out Lorde and Addison Rae at the Garden last night and I wasn't there is the beginning of my villain origin story. I cannot believe that I missed this. Ticketmaster is going to hell. When I tell you, somebody on Ticketmaster was legitimately reselling a ticket in the 300 section, not even in a 300 level seat. They were selling the MSG bar stool. So if you don't know, MSG has like a section in the 300s that's kind of separate from the actual 300 section seats, and they're bar stools. And they're a great seat. Like, usually they're relatively cheap. Not for last night, but usually they're very affordable. They're like a solid view. You have a ton of room to dance. Like, I've sat there a few times and it's a great option when it's a show that like you just want to dance, you want to have fun, you want to do your thing at, and like get a cheap seat, get a beer, have fun. Somebody was selling those seats for $5,000 last night. 5 fucking grand. What kind of drugs were you on when you listed a bar stool seat for $5,000? Not even, there wasn't even a back to the seat. It was literally a stool for 5 grand. Ticketmaster needs to do something about these resale prices because that is just diabolical. I was watching Ticketmaster all day long. I was getting flagged as a bot. They were saying I was a scalper. They were saying, my session had expired and I wasn't allowed back in. And I was doing all the tricks. I was like an Olympic gymnast doing backflips, jumping over hoops, getting into this Ticketmaster queue or Ticketmaster platform, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that I was going to get a ticket for this show. And then I accepted defeat as soon as it came down off of Ticketmaster. I got scammed on Twitter, not for a lot of money. I made like a deal with some girl. I was like, I will send you this much, send me one ticket, and then I will send you the rest of the money. You can send me the second. I sent her the money. It was a small amount. I sent her $30. I was like, I will send you $30. Send me one ticket. And if that is real, I will send you the rest of the money. I sent her the money. She was like, nope, I don't trust you. Send me your ID. She wanted me to like send her my full ID with my address and everything. I was like, girl, this is not my first rodeo. Take my $30. Go fill up your fucking gas tank, whatever you're doing with it, and let me be. I was so mad last night. And once I realized I wasn't going, I was like, you know what? This sucks. I'm upset, but it's okay. I started looking up tickets to Philly. I looked up tickets for like Nashville, Miami, just trying to like see my options. And then I saw Lorde on stage with her. And I literally turned to my boyfriend and I was like, I am sorry, but I need to be left alone for the rest of the night. I brushed my teeth, I washed my face, and I walked my ass to the bedroom. I was like, I need to be alone. I need to sulk in my sorrows and just let this defeat like really sink in because I was fucking panini pressed. I was so upset. And it's so silly to be upset over something like this. Like, it is a concert. I woke up this morning. Obviously, there's bigger things going on in the world. And once I slept on it, like I woke up this morning and I was like, all right, that was a little silly to get so upset over. It's okay. It's a concert. It is what it is. But let me fucking tell you, if I turned this mic on last night, it would have been a completely different bitch on this microphone. I almost did. I almost recorded like a live segment to insert into this week's episode just to really catch my emotions. But I was like, that would be embarrassing. Like, I would be embarrassed in a few weeks, a few months, however long it would take me if I posted that online. And like, obviously, when you act on actions and you act in the heat of the moment and don't like think about what's actually going on, it's not always the best case scenario. So, I put my big boy pants on, I took my sorry ass to bed, and it is what it is. So I will see the sweat tour eventually. It definitely stings a little bit that it won't be with Lorde and Addison Rae, but you know what? I'm happy for my girls who did get to go. To anybody who went to the show last night and only knows Charlie because of the Apple dance, I hope you choke. But you know what? It is what it is. We're gonna get off of this negative boat. We don't like to keep things negative over here at Two Pop to Handle. I'm a very bubbly, positive, happy person. But sometimes your boy has to bitch, and you know what? It is my show, it is my mic. I can bitch if I want to. And although we had some major losses this week, we are also celebrating some major wins because Kelly Clarkson is back for season 6 of The Kelly Clarkson Show, and she is kicking it off on a high note with some kick-ass karaoke songs. She started the season with a medley of some of her bangers. It was a medley of Dance With Me, Favorite Kind of High, People Like Us, and Stronger. And then she also did a cover of Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan with Miranda Lambert. And it was just perfection. The two of them added like a little country twang to it. It was so much fun. There is something so incredible about the way Kelly Clarkson can take anybody's song, make it her own, and then it's hers. Like, she owns it. It is like she is a one of a kind talent. I was like, you know what? We could all use some wins this week, and Kelly Clarkson just always comes through when you need her the most. That is My American Idol. What more could you ask for than a killer karaoke session? So yes, I'm defeated over the fact that I did not get to see Charlie XCX this week, but at least Kelly Clarkson has my back. That being said, let's kick off the show. We're not even started with our two pop to handle moments of the week yet. I'm just over here talking about my wins and my losses of the week. So with that, let's hop into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some rapid fire pop culture moments, kicking it off with everybody's favorite 411 pop star. Sabrina Carpenter kicked off the short and sweet tour last night in Columbus, Ohio, and she is pulling out all of the stops. This tour looks incredible. I'm going on Monday and I cannot fucking wait. Actually, this weekend is very exciting. I'm seeing Chappell Roan, Renee Rapp, and Sabrina Carpenter, and I cannot wait. So we will talk all about that next week. Make sure you're following me on my socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you know the drill, and I will be posting live updates throughout the weekend. I am so excited. But that being said, Sabrina Carpenter did kick off the short and sweet tour last night, and it is a masterclass in pop perfection. The branding, the outfits, the way that she did it as like a whole 60s kind of like talk show vibe the entire time. It is just so good. And what's really making headlines from the show is the fact that she cut the nonsense outro. And a few episodes ago, I was like, I hope she never cuts the nonsense outro because it is so much fun. And then she cut the nonsense outro. And I was like, you know what? I don't need it. I don't think. I think we have gotten so many of them for so long. And as much as I loved them, and it was such like a fun thing to look forward to every night, whether it was like seeing who posted it first on TikTok or if you were at one of her shows. Like, it was always so excited to see what she was going to say. But the girl has been doing this for like 2 years now. She's toured it in the US, she's gone overseas, she did it on the Eras Tour, Coachella, Gov Ball. Like, every festival has had its own outro. So I think it's to a point where, like, if she was to keep doing it, it would kind of get tired and it would just be like, all right, we get it. Like, you're beating a dead horse at this point. I think it is, it is clearly part of the emails I can't send era. She needed to press send on that email, say goodbye to it, and I feel okay with it. A few months ago, I definitely would have been hurt, like I said, but it is what it is. She can do no wrong in my eyes. I cannot wait to see her on Monday. We will talk all about that next week. And our next little pop culture moment from the week that was too pop to handle. If you guys remember a few weeks ago, I was talking about how Beyonce was spotted filming something here in New York. She was at like a dive bar. It was rumored to be a Levi's collab. Like, nobody really knew exactly what it was, as Beyonce does keep things very under wraps. But we are finally getting what we think is to be, coming to fruition of what that was. Yesterday, Levi's posted on their Instagram. It was a picture of like their iconic tag that's on the back of all of their jeans. And there was like a little painted horse with somebody riding it. And they said new chapter. And then they posted a photo and it was like a painted billboard on like a brick wall, very old school of them, it was a picture of Beyonce wearing Levi's and it said Laundrette September 30th. And now this is so exciting. So if you don't know, there's like an iconic Levi's ad from back in like the 80s. It's literally listed as like top 10 TV ads ever. And it was Nick Cannon, who was like a singer, songwriter, model. He was huge in the UK, walking into a laundromat and he just like stripped down to his underwear. And it was like one of the biggest ads of the 80s. It's like a Marvin Gaye song in the background. You've probably seen it. If not, you've probably seen it referenced. And this ad literally skyrocketed Levi's sales. They say it almost like 800%. Obviously, it was in the 80s, so it was hard to tell exactly what the number was back then, but this ad is like such an iconic moment. So I'm envisioning like Beyonce walking into this dive bar and maybe like, I don't see her stripping down just to her little undies like they did in the original ad, but maybe just like her walking in like a pair of her Levi's and just like, I don't know. I'm just imagining like a very like cunty saloon Levi's situation where she just like walks in, all eyes are on her, because that's what happens in the ad. Like, he walks into this laundromat and everyone is glued to him and he starts taking off his clothes and he's gorgeous and everybody is just like drawn to him. And I think it's just going to give that same effect, which Beyonce walks into a room and everybody stares her way anyway. So I think it's a perfect way to bring this iconic ad back. And I am so excited. It will be out by the next time we talk next week. So I am so stoked to dive into that and see what is in store. I'm guessing we're going to get some type of like Levi's like actual jeans collab. Maybe we'll get like a little denim jacket moment. I would love that. Not that I need any more denim jackets, but it is what it is for Beyonce. I might have to pull out a card or two. And moving into our next moment from the week that was just too pop to handle. Now, this is something that I am not thrilled to be talking about, but I'm also like thinking the internet is doing what the internet does best and just like taking something and just running with it without all of the context clues. So if you did not see, Chappell Roan is in some hot water right now, and I don't think it is necessary the amount of backlash that she is getting. So she did an interview with The Guardian, and they pretty much asked her about where she stands with the government today. And she said, I have so many issues with our government in every way. There are so many things that I want to change. I don't feel pressure to endorse someone. There's problems on both sides. So that is the poll quote that everybody is posting. So obviously I am not thrilled to see that she's not like forwardly coming out and supporting and endorsing Kamala, but the quote is taken out of context. And when you read the entire interview, there's a lot more to it than just that poll quote that everybody is taking and like putting a target on her back for. She also says, I encourage people to use your critical thinking skills, use your vote small, vote for what's going on in your city. She said that the change that I want to see in the US in this election year is trans rights. They cannot have cis people making decisions for trans people, period. And now, again, I obviously would love to see Chappell come out and endorse Kamala, but we have to remember back in June at GovBall, she was very clear on the fact that like the White House invited her there to perform at Pride and she turned it down because she is not happy with what's going on with the Palestinian war and with LGBTQIA rights. Like, she isn't thrilled with, some of the policies and things that are going on under the Biden administration. And I mean, there's things that I'm not thrilled about that Biden has done, that Kamala has done. And I'm not standing up for the fact that like she's blatantly saying she's not endorsing Kamala when clearly like we need all the votes that we can get. But we also have to remember that like she has been so vocal for free Palestine, for, LGBTQIA rights. Every ticket that was sold for her UK tour, $1 of those tickets went to an LGBTQ plus rights charity called the Kaleidoscope Trust. And at her merch stand in Manchester, she was selling signed lithographs. I think they were like $100, and every single dollar for that went to a Free Palestine foundation. So yes, it sucks that she's not coming out and being like, Kamala 2024, like very forward speaking. But this is somebody who is like very outwardly spoken about what she stands for, what she wants in, to see change. She literally said, like, if I went to the White House and performed, I was going to read poems of Palestinian women talking about wanting to be free instead of performing. Like, she's standing on business, and I'm not making excuses. I really would love for her to come out and endorse her, like I said, but this isn't a situation where she is literally like coming out and telling people not to vote. She's still telling people, use your voice, critically think. Like, we know where she stands. We know what her, where she falls on the political scale. Realistically, like, no, nobody falls in a perfect party. There's always going to be policies that people aren't agreeing with, and I don't think what Chappell said, when you read the entire interview and don't take it out of context, is as like critical and like crucial as people are making it out to be. But like I said, it's a poll quote. People are seeing this quote and they are just running with it. And with the press that she's had around her lately, people think she's being bitchy and for setting her boundaries and this and that. Like, I think people are just taking anything to really put a target on her back, when realistically she's just saying, she's like, a perfect world, it does not exist under either of these parties. There's a lot of things that need to change within political parties, and she's not wrong. But of course, in an election year, it is so important to be endorsing a party and like making sure people aren't swinging and swaying their vote. But we know where Chappell Roan stands. She's literally a lesbian who has drag queens and trans artists open for her on every single date of her tour. She's donating to Palestine. Like, we know where her issues lie. I think this was just completely taken out of context. And even during her Rolling Stone interview earlier this month, she said, I feel so lucky to be alive during an incredibly historic time period where a woman of color is a presidential nominee. So I think everybody is just, it's a high-strung year. I get it. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot going on. But the way that people are just jumping down her throat, they're saying she's using the gay community for, for views, and she's not really standing on what she supports. And like, it's just like, I think everybody needs to stop relying on celebrities to sway their vote more so, and like, just let people educate themselves and just like continue to educate the people around them who maybe aren't sure if they're voting, don't know how they're going to vote, don't know if they're registered to vote. Like, we need to stop letting celebrities swing us so much, because like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many other ways for people to be educated about this election. And though I don't love this lack of endorsement, there's much bigger issues to worry about, like the fact that Janet Jackson is quite literally echoing something Trump said and admitting to be uneducated during this election. And it's just like, moving on to our next topic, Janet Jackson, if you didn't see, so she did an interview with The Guardian. They seemed to be at the scene of the crime this week, and they asked her about her stance on the current politics and how she feels about Kamala running for president. And she said, well, you know what they supposedly said? She's not black. That's what I heard. I heard that she's Indian. I heard that her father's white. That's what I was told. I haven't watched the news in a few days, but I was told that they discovered her father was white. And it just like, it upsets me to see somebody whose family has been at the center of conversations about race and things like that for years, and for her to admit just being like, yeah, I haven't educated myself. I just heard that, she's lying about her race, which isn't true. And then there was like this statement that came out from her team, but it wasn't from her team, and it was an apology, but they actually came out, her actual team came out and said that that wasn't endorsed by her, by Janet, and like, she wasn't really apologizing for what she said. So it's just like, I understand obviously wanting your favorite celebrity and wanting any person with a voice and a platform to endorse Kamala and like the right candidate, which is Kamala in my eyes. But like, if there's other people coming outwardly saying like, oh, I'm not educated, and I heard what Trump said is right, that is more harmful in my eyes than Chappell Roan being like, I want better for the trans community and for what's going on in Palestine. Like, people really need to To boil things down, and again, stop letting celebrities swing your vote. There is no reason why, like, somebody, especially this far in the election, should be like, I'm waiting for Janet Jackson and Chappell Roan to tell me who they're endorsing to figure out who I'm voting for. Do you realize how insane that sounds? Of course, having a celebrity endorse a candidate is huge, and like, it is definitely going to swing some people's opinions, but the majority of the voters are not on Stan Twitter, thank God. And Chappell Roan not endorsing Kamala, but being so outspoken with Democratic views to an extent is not nearly as harmful as this Janet Jackson statement, which is just like blowing my mind. I feel like Chappell's getting so much more smoke for it. And this is just like, there's like bigger things at stake, and there's also like bigger things to worry about, like the fact that Trump is out here like handing out cash in grocery stores to people, which is illegal, by the way. Like, it's illegal for a presidential candidate to give people money hoping for votes in return. But people aren't going to cover that because it's more important what Chaperone and Janet Jackson are saying. We are living in such a fucking Black Mirror episode. It is insane. It is in fucking sane. Speaking of insane, there is still so much going on with this Diddy case, and I feel like we are not even scratching the surface of what is going to come out. And it's going to just continue to get uglier the more that we find out. And I feel like a lot of celebrities are probably shitting themselves right now because of what's about to come out from these Diddy cases and files and whatever's going on. So first of all, there's like all of these old clips resurfacing. Wendy Williams interviews, interviews with Diddy himself, clips of Kourtney Kardashian talking about him. And like, there's so many things that have been screaming in our faces about like what's going on with Diddy behind the scenes. And somehow it's like taken this long to finally crack down and get this man arrested and convicted for whatever the hell has gone on behind closed doors within his parties. I mean, Wendy Williams has been on his ass for years. She pretty much has always like alluded to him being the reason she got fired from her radio show back in the 90s. She literally said, he single-handedly tried to ruin my career. He put me through hell, but I will never forget, but I don't hate him. She wrote that in her book. Like, Wendy Williams has clearly been trying to push and like tell us this narrative for years, but they just kind of classified Wendy as crazy and was like, nope, we're not going to believe her. She's talking her shit, doing her thing. And look where we are now. I think we all need to just learn, like, listen to women when they try to tell us shit. And I hope this is like a lesson going forward for people that like, wake the fuck up. When somebody tries to tell you something is going on, listen to them. It's fucking insane. Not only listen to women, Diddy literally said in an interview in 1999 that is resurfaced that you're going to hear about my parties, they're going to be shutting them down, and they're probably going to be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because they don't want to see me have a good time. He literally said, I'm going to get arrested for what's going on at my parties, whether he was like joking around or not. That foreshadowing is fucking insane. And now there's all these things coming about like what's going on with him and Justin Bieber and Usher. There's the video of him like tapping down Justin, making sure he's not wearing a microphone. Now there's people like analyzing the Yummy music video, which is like a sentence I never thought that I would hear. Like, Yummy in and of itself is kind of like, a pop culture joke and just like everything that went on with that. But now people are like breaking down the music video and they're like finding little like almost cries for help from Justin, which, if that's the case, terrifying. They're trying to tie in like Aaron Carter's death, which is just a whole nother pill to swallow, because I feel like in the last few years of Aaron Carter's life and since he's passed, he has just not had a moment of just like actual rest and been able to like rest peacefully or kind of become sober and like get the help that he needed. And now they're tying in all of these tweets from him talking about Kanye, and apparently Kanye was talking about him on an Instagram live, and like there's all this stuff coming out. People are saying maybe his death was orchestrated, which is just like so horrible to say and think about the fact that that's something that could happen. But with like all of the things that are happening with Diddy and all the things coming out, like, honestly, who knows what could happen and like what did happen? It's getting crazier by the minute. This has been going on for way too long. And as sad as all of his actions have been and what has happened are, I'm very happy to see the fact that, like, finally some justice may or may not be served. We will see. I really didn't expect to be talking about Diddy so much on this podcast, but it is just like the hot topic right now. But speaking of hell not being hot enough for Diddy, Kesha is not getting off this man's throat, and I am obsessed. In perfect comedic timing last week. Kesha posted a TikTok with the updated Fuck P. Diddy lyric. She didn't release the song yet. She has to wait till she has like the legal rights to it, which is like a whole nother mess in and of itself. But she posted a TikTok with the updated lyric that is coming out sometime in the future. And it was just like the perfect timing and the funniest thing for her to do with everything going on right now. She also announced that she is set up to launch an album in 2025 under her own record label called Kesha Records. It's going to be launched through Warner Music Group's independent distribution arm, ADA. It's going to house her upcoming release, including an album set for release in 2025, as I said, and her single Joyride that came out in July was under that label. So she's already been working on this label. She's already been like releasing music, but now she is like fully ready to like launch this record label, get things going, say fuck P. Diddy, fuck Dr. Luke, just like completely put a bow on everything that's happened to her in the past and just like continue to party forward as she does. She said, I'm proud to announce this partnership for the distribution of my music through Kesha Records. My name has become synonymous with transparency, integrity, and safety, and I want to ensure that these values are upheld for myself and any future artists signed to my label. Music has the power to connect the world, and I aspire for my work to be a beacon of light and goodness. I'm excited to take control of my narrative and rewrite my story in the music business. So ADA is going to work with Kesha's management company, Crush Music, with the marketing and the promotion, but everything will be under this independent label. So hopefully, I mean, obviously it's Kesha's label. She won't have any of these issues that she's faced in the past. And she is just, I feel like she truly is like the poster child for like continue to fight for what's right. And eventually, no matter how long it takes, it might be 10 years, it might be 20 years, as we're seeing with the Diddy case, it might be 30 plus years. Like everybody who's supposed to get the karma that they are deserved will get it in time. You just have to keep on their ass and just like be persistent, keep going, and I will be fully seated for a new Kesha album in 2025. And that wraps up our pop culture rapid fire moments from the week. But kind of sticking on the tail end of Kesha and Dr. Luke, we're moving into somebody who has more recently worked with Dr. Luke, who we're not thrilled about. And we are going into our Drew releases segment, which is where I cover my new music releases from last week and we'll chit chat about what's coming up in the week to come. And last week, Katy Perry's album 143. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I was excited for this album. I was holding out hope and really hoping that like despite working with Dr. Luke and despite like the really weird and like kind of terrible album rollout, she would really pull through and give us something of substance and like really just like prove everybody wrong that like nope, it was worth it in the long run. It was worth working with this piece of shit and like maybe the singles weren't as good. And I'm just feeling a little let down. I'm not going to come out and say the album is bad because I don't think it's a bad album. It just doesn't feel complete. Like it just feels like it doesn't go to the place that I need it to go. And the whole album I'm like waiting for it to like take it to the next level. I'm waiting for these songs to like really just like wow me, whether it's lyrically, production wise, and it just doesn't, and it's just disappointing. Now, like I said, I don't think the album is bad. There are some tracks on it that I really do like. I don't love, but I do like. But like Crushed, All the Love, Nirvana, Truth, I still think Lifetimes is like a killer track. I'm His, He's Mine, killer track. Like there's definitely good songs on this album. I just am like, if you're gonna work with Dr. Luke, at least make it great and at least like laugh in our faces at the end. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to work with somebody who has such a terrible reputation and you know that people aren't thrilled that you're working with him, give us something groundbreaking and be like, I told you guys it was going to be worth it. And it's just not giving that. They are like perfect for when you are ready to leave the club and you're not sure if like you should like leave yet or if you want to get another drink. Like it's kind of that like come down kind of music where like the night's kind of wrapping up. People are leaving the club, but there's still people going. Like it's very much giving that energy. And like I said, it's not a bad album. I just wanted more. I was really rooting for her to like come through and give us like a killer pop album and just be like, fuck the haters, fuck you guys. I told you it was going to be worth it. I was going to have this crazy big comeback. And then it just felt lackluster and it didn't wow me the way that I really wanted it to. I felt like the lyrics were just kind of like almost like AI generated. Like there's no depth to the album. There's no personal stories, I feel like, in the album. The lyrics just kind of are like, okay, like anybody could have written this. There's no personal connection to Katy. And after waiting so long for an album from her and after the last album wasn't that well perceived, I just thought maybe she would like really buckle down and give us some more depth, some more like better production. You're working with somebody who is clearly problematic, but push comes to shove, he usually releases good music. Like I get it. I know that's not like the best thing to say, but it's true. It just fell flat for me. I don't know. I will still, keep it in my rotation here and there. I'll listen to it when when I think about it. If it comes on shuffle, I'm not going to turn it off. But definitely, definitely didn't leave the mark on me that I was hoping it would. And it kind of sucks. It kind of, I feel bad, but it is what it is. I wasn't in the booth with her telling her what to do when it happened. Moving on to another release from last week that just really like took me by surprise. Nelly Furtado released her seventh album last week, Seven, and it is so good. It is so much fun. It's just like upbeat, something you can throw on, you can dance to. Nelly Furtado was my first concert ever back in 2002, and she was one of the first albums I ever bought with my own money when I was in like second grade. So when I saw her album was coming out, I was like, oh, I need to tune into this just for like the Andrew lore, for like second grade Andrew. And I am so happy that I did. Some of my standout tracks were Showstopper, Love Bites, and Honestly. But while I was listening to the entire album, it was just fun. It felt like a perfect pace for an album. It had a little bit of everything. It was just a solid body of work. And I loved it. I feel like it's not getting enough praise in the media because there was so much, going on with Katie. And just in general, there's so much music coming out this year. So Nelly Furtado was definitely getting a bit swept under the rug. But I would definitely recommend checking out this album if you're just looking for something to put on, some good vibes, some fun energy. I am really hoping to hear some of these songs at the club because they will go crazy at the gay bar, and I cannot wait. And then the final release from last week, we had Miss Christina Aguilera releasing the 25th anniversary celebration of her debut album, and my fucking God, was the mic on. This woman, I mean, we all know Christina Aguilera can sing, but she just gets better with age. The way that she was literally schooling that microphone, I was fucking floored. I didn't expect anything less. I didn't expect her to not deliver insane vocals, but I was genuinely blown away. I was like, this bitch is not letting off of our throats. I thought it was so perfectly done. I loved the new kind of interpolations of the songs. I loved how she sprinkled MGK into it. I loved having Sabrina Carpenter on it. I will say it is so funny, the tweets right now of her and Sabrina sitting on the couch, and everybody's like, if I was Sabrina, I would have beat her ass up for the way that her vocals just like completely served on this track compared to Sabrina's. Not to knock Sabrina's vocals. Obviously, you guys know I'm a huge Sabrina fan, and there's just like no denying, like, Christina Aguilera is an insane vocalist, and just watching Sabrina just like sit there while Christina is just like going to town on these riffs and these runs. It's hilarious, and obviously it's all in good fun. Like, we know Sabrina Carpenter can sing, but like, my God, Christina Aguilera, the pipes are piping. Miss Girl was singing fucking down. And that wraps up our releases from last week. But we have two very exciting releases this week, and I am so sad. First up, Christmas is coming a little bit early. Kelly Clarkson, who we talked about at the top of the show, is releasing a new Christmas single, which is so exciting because I feel like Kelly is like one of the undisputed queens of Christmas. Obviously, Mariah Carey is the true queen of Christmas, but let's not forget about how incredible Wrapped in Red is. Honestly, one of the best Christmas albums that we've gotten in the last few years. She is releasing a new single called You for Christmas. It comes out this Friday, and I cannot wait. I know it's a little bit early for Christmas music, so honestly, not sure if I will listen to it this week or if I'll put a pin in it and save it for later. But regardless, I will be listening to it eventually when I'm ready for that Christmas spirit. But crazy to think that we're getting Christmas music already. It's only September, but I guess time is ticking. Things are moving very fast. And the next release is something that I am so excited to chat about. Lady fucking Gaga is releasing a companion album for the upcoming Joker movie. It's called Harlequin or Harlequin. Regardless, I don't give a fuck what it's called. I am so excited. And she is the woman of the hour for this podcast. So before we dive into that companion album, let's just dive into Gaga as a whole right now, because we are currently living through 4 different Gaga eras, which is insane for gay people everywhere. She is feeding us a full course buffet dinner, and I'm stuffed, but I want more. I'm going back for seconds, for thirds. Let's get into it. So obviously she recently released Die with a Smile with her and Bruno Mars, and it has literally been #1 on the Spotify global charts for 31 days. It's gained 11.3 million streams, and it has not let up at all. People are eating this track up. Obviously, it's not tied into any specific project that either of them are working on right now. It's kind of like a one-off single. I talked about it when the song came out, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it. It is so good, and I am so glad to see that people are eating this up the way that they are. She has also been on her press tour for Joker Folie à Deux. If I pronounced that wrong, I'm not French, sorry. But she has been on this crazy press tour and just doing interviews left and right. A few weeks ago, she did an interview with Vogue, and I did write about it in my newsletter, so shameless plug there. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter yet, head over to twopoptohandle.substack.com and get yourself a little extra dose of Two Pop to Handle moments every single weekend. But in the interview, she was saying how she is set to release a pop album in the next few months. I believe February is the month that is coming out. And she said that her fiance Michael is the person who pushed her for it. She said, Michael is the person who told me to make a new pop record. He was like, babe, I love you and you need to make pop music. So everybody, let's say thank you to Michael for the fact that we are getting a new Gaga pop album in 2025. I cannot fucking wait. She also teased the fact that the lead single will be coming in October. So we have the Joker movie coming out October 4th, and sometime in October after that, we're getting the lead single for the album. So she has a full rollout ready to go. She also spoke to MTV about the album, and she said, I felt very free making LG7 and all the music I've been working on. It's kind of like realizing you can take even more risks than the one you've already taken. I loved celebrating things in myself as a character that I was actually really feeling privately ashamed of. I think I brought that into my studio album as well to create something unapologetic. So I feel like we're gearing up for a kind of personal album from Gaga, but she did say it's kind of a tie-in of all of her music styles that she's done. And I mean, she's covered every single genre under the sun and killed it. So whatever she has under her sleeve, my paws are up. I am ready. I am prepared. I am sat. And then Mother Monster, as she does, just continues to feed us. Like I said, I'm going back for seconds, for thirds, for fourth. And she started posting like the Zodiac Killer on her Instagram last week. And I immediately was like, what is this bitch doing? So the first post read, I'm ready for my interview. The next one said, don't tell me what to wear. Then she said, no duct tape, no mission. Then she said, moon dust gets everywhere. And then the final post was still not October. So these are very cryptic things that she was posting. And it was, like I said, giving the Zodiac Killer. I was like, what the fuck is she doing? And, what are we supposed to take from this? Because this rah-rah bitch is always throwing us for a loop. And a loop she did throw. Yesterday, they started posting billboards all over New York and LA, and it said LG 6.5. So we were like, all right, what are we getting before LG7? Because clearly she has something up her sleeve that we do not know about. And it turns out Lady Gaga is releasing a companion album, like I said, to the Joker. I cannot wait. I did not think we were going to be getting a full body of work from Gaga this soon. I was like mentally prepared for February, and now she's throwing us for this curveball. I'm not complaining, but like, holy shit, we're getting a Lady Gaga album this Friday. There was a lot to uncover. So, first and foremost, I want to just give her flowers. Calling a project in between projects that isn't necessarily your own project, but you're putting your name on it, calling it LG 6.5 is so funny to me. She's so clearly being like, hey, this is a Lady Gaga project and I am putting like my all into it and I'm really proud of the work and it's coming from Lady Gaga, not Harlequin, but it's not quite LG7, so don't put it exactly to that level yet. Like, there's more to come and I feel like the best has yet to come, but here's a little something for you guys to nibble on while we're waiting, you know what I mean? Like I said, she's keeping us very fed. So the project is called Harlequin. It comes out this Friday, September 27th. It is a 13-track album. It runs about 40 minutes, which to me is the perfect length for an album. It features a cover of Get Happy by Judy Garland, which if you know me, you know Judy Garland and the Wizard of Oz I hold very near and dear to my heart, so I am thrilled for that. We heard a little bit of that on one of the Joker previews, so we know, what to expect from that, but allegedly there's going to be a music video for it. It's going to be pushed as a single, so I cannot wait. And it just gets better because she is referencing herself multiple times on this album. So there's two different variants that have been pushed out as vinyls. There's a regular and then the exclusive one, I guess you can call it. And there's like 4 or 5 different ways that she is referencing her career, which I feel like once you can start referencing yourself in your own work, that's when you make it as an artist. Like when you're able to like put little Easter eggs on a new project that reference past things in such a niche little way and people can pick up on it, it's like, all right, this bitch, they've made it. Lady Gaga has clearly made it for years, but this, I was just like, I love this. She is clearly reflecting on her career and her life as a whole. And I feel like between this project and LG7 coming in February, she is really going to give us something like real and raw. So let's get into these references really quick. So first and foremost, on one of the back covers, you can see the disco bra from the Just Dance music video, which obviously is an ode to her first project, which she really just like took the world by storm with that project. And then next to the bra, you can see on like a old school TV, there's a video of Tony Bennett being played, which she spent so much time in her career just like loving and admiring and working with Tony. And we all know how important he was to her throughout her career and just like her personal development. So I love that little nod there. You can also see on the front cover, there is a smashed up copy of the Joanne World Tour on VHS, which is just like a little like fuck you almost to the Monsters for never releasing the Joanne World Tour on DVD. Very much giving Formation World Tour Beyonce. The two of them, they love to just, play in our face like that. But, there she is referencing Joanne right then and there. There was also a copy of Letters to a Young Poet on the floor, which is her favorite poetry book. And the tattoo that she has on her arm is a verse from one of the poems in that book. And then on the back cover of the standard version, I believe, she's sitting in the bathtub, very art pop-esque. You could just like plop that little blue ball between her legs and it's just giving art pop. So she's really covering almost all of her eras. I'm sure there's Chromatica somewhere in there. Oh, Chromatica and Born This Way are both missing. So maybe they're in there somewhere. We just haven't picked up on it yet, or maybe it's going to be within the music. But regardless, she is clearly giving us, some fun little Easter eggs and nods back to her career that we've all followed her on and really, been on this journey with. And I am so excited for whatever she has in store. Joker comes out next week, which is crazy. I feel like that flew by. I feel like I remember when the trailer came out and I was like, oh, we have so long to wait for this movie and it's finally here. They also filmed it so long ago. So I just feel like this project has been a long time coming. So very excited for that. So excited for this album on Friday. I genuinely cannot believe that we are getting a full Lady Gaga project this Friday. That is insane. I cannot wait. My paws are up. Like, this is a huge day for gay people. I cannot wait. And that wraps up our Gaga conversation, which brings us into one of our final segments of the show, our TV recap. Only one show to recap this week, but it is a big one. We are talking Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. That is how you do a premiere. Whoever edited, whoever produced, whoever had their hands in that episode, give them all of the awards now because that was such a perfect way to start this season. So after season 4 ended with that crazy blow up, whatever you want to call it, I was like, how are they going to come back season 5 and like capture everybody in, especially with like Monica being out, who people ended up really loving last season, but clearly the girls weren't going to film with her, so they had to get her out. I was like, how are they going to, give the girls what they want, get us hooked from episode 1 and just like make us want to keep watching? And I cannot get over how good this episode was. So first and foremost, the way that the editing was done and they were doing the callbacks to all of the past seasons and like the throwbacks and like even things that were filmed prior to Lisa's little party that she threw, it was so well done and just gave us a really good way to catch up with the girls on what's going on and almost like refresh us of what's happened in the seasons. Because after all the reality Von T stuff that happened at the end of season 4, a lot of things I feel like kind of just like went out the window because we were like, well, the biggest thing that could happen was that after the whole Jen Shah thing. So there was a lot of little details that I feel like maybe we forgot or like kind of slipped under the rug when everything happened. And it's been a crazy couple of months for these girls. So there was a lot to catch up on. And they did such a good job at getting us up to speed while still keeping the episode kind of rolling and not like hindering on the past. And speaking of hindering on the past, Angie K showing up with an entire scroll ready for Meredith to apologize for a plethora plethora of things was fucking hilarious. I was like, this bitch didn't even wait for the reunion to pull up with literal receipts and release this scroll in the middle of a party asking Meredith to apologize for God knows what. There were so many things on that list, and Meredith was just like not having it for a second, which I love Angie and I love Meredith, but Meredith has such a special place in my heart. I fucking love her. And I was cracking up. She was like, I'm not doing this. I'm walking away, and just like completely left. So fucking funny. Her, Lisa, and Angie were already in having drama on Twitter last week. The episode wasn't even out yet, and they were fighting online. Like, the girls are clearly at each other's neck this season, and we're only one episode in. Something else that definitely threw me for a loop is Angie and Mary becoming best friends, because do we not remember like Mary literally being like, "Who is Angie?" at the Trixie Motel, and like not the two of them just becoming friends was something that was not on my Bravo bingo card. Not sure if I'm mad at it, not sure if I love it yet. I'm interested to see how this rolls out and like how their friendship kind of develops over the season, because definitely not a friendship that I ever predicted to happen, but I guess we will see what happens. We're always down for a friendship blossoming, so let's see how that cookie crumbles. Speaking of friendships, we did meet all three of the new girls this season, so Brittany, Bronwyn, and Levi. Brittany came in with Heather, and I feel like she's going to be fun to add to the mix. She kind of gave us a peek into how she is and who she is. She literally called Bronwyn's outfit a costume when she was wearing a Saint Laurent coat that is worth $15,000. So to come in and be like, oh my God, I love your costume when she's wearing literal designer, just goes to show you like she's not, mixed in with the fashion bunch. Maybe she's not up to speed on everything going on, but I thought it was hilarious. But it was really funny the way that she just like completely like owned her shit and was like, well, looks like a costume to me. I don't know. Very excited for her. Obviously, it was hard to kind of get a grasp on all of these girls just yet because we're only one episode in, but just from what I'm seeing, I'm already really liking Brittany. And then Bronwyn, she is making a lot of waves right now, mainly because of her fashion, which I understand. Personally, I liked her outfits. Like, yes, her outfits were a little outlandish for being in the middle of Utah in Salt Lake City, but at the end of the day, like, she didn't look bad. It was just definitely, a little bit off the beaten path from what the other girls are wearing, but the other girls aren't always stepping out in like the craziest outfits and like the best looking things either. So I don't get why people are so like up in arms about her fashion. I do feel like she knows a lot. I feel like that bob is lethal and she hides a lot of secrets within that bob and within all of her costumes and couture, whatever you want to call it. Like, I want to know what she's hiding under that Saint Laurent heart coat, because I know that bitch has secrets. Lisa did call her the villain of the season. I'll watch what happens live. So we will see what Lisa, is stirring up in that sense and what she means by that. But very excited to see what Bronwyn brings to the table. And then the final friend that we met was Mila, who came in with Whitney. She honestly didn't say much this episode, if anything. I don't think we really talked to her much. I will say I loved her pink outfit, that pink blazer with the heels. I loved it. She is gorgeous. I'm very excited to see how she falls into the cast this season. She came with Whitney, so once everybody ganged up on Whitney, which we'll get into in a second, she obviously left with Whitney. So I'm curious to see kind of like where she falls with the rest of the girls and how those relationships develop. But can we talk about them ganging up on Whitney like that? Because holy shit, they clearly have had it with this girl. They were ready to unleash the beast on her as soon as they saw opportunity arise. And I kind of don't blame them. Like, she was kind of playing the victim in all of these situations. And as Heather, as Meredith, as Lisa kind of brought things to the table and were like, well, you said this about me. You lied about that. You were lying about this. You went on this podcast and talked about me and said this. She just kept getting more defensive and more defensive and more defensive. And to a point, it got to where she was like, fuck, I don't know how to defend myself anymore because maybe I am, unraveling. And she's definitely got herself into some, bad weather, as Lisa Barlow would say. And even just like her and Heather's relationship kind of dwindling over the years when they went into it, literally like, connect at the hip. I mean, they're, if not actual cousins, they were calling each other their cousins for the first like 2 or 3 seasons. So to see that relationship kind of dwindle and like, I don't know, I'm very curious to see like how Whitney plays her cards during all of this and what goes down, because they set the season up for success. I am so excited to see where this crazy bunch of girls takes us for the rest of the season, and we will be recapping it every single week. That being said, we have made it to the final segment of the episode. It is time for my yes and my mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving, and my mess being something I am not loving. My yes this week is more just like a trend I'm seeing on social media that I think is so funny. I'm sure you've seen it because people are doing it everywhere, but just this trend of making people sign old photos of themselves. I think it is so funny. I believe it started during the Olympics or with the WNBA teams. I don't know exactly, but they were essentially in the locker room having them sign like really old like middle school, high school photos of themselves and just getting their reaction to like obviously they're like in game mode ready to go play or do whatever they're going to do, and then getting this photo of like 12-year-old selves and having to sign it was so funny. But now people are taking it to the next level. At the VMAs, somebody was having people sign old photos of themselves. I believe at the Oscars as well, people were doing, not the Oscars. I believe people who did it at the Emmys as well. I just saw them do it backstage at iHeartRadio, and Dua Lipa was like, I am not signing that photo. It was like a really old, honestly terrible photo of her. She was wearing like the craziest, most like 2014 outfit I have ever seen. It was so funny. And now students are bringing old photos of their teachers that they're finding online and asking them to sign it in class. So I'm waiting to see, how long it takes for this series to just kind of wrap up, because I think the teacher thing is going to like really draw the line. A trend is only so fun until it goes to that next level where it's like, all right, we kind of pushed it a little too far this time. And teachers might be, they might draw the line to an extent, but I think it's so funny. And it's like a fun, harmless trend that just, I don't know, it's just funny. It makes me laugh and I will never skip a video of it. And then my mess this week is a video that I do wish that I skipped because it was really, really heartbreaking. And it is the Hayden Panettiere People magazine interview. If you did not see, late last week, People magazine released an on-camera interview with Hayden Panettiere, just kind of talking about the things that she's been through in the past few years. She struggled with sobriety, she's had some loss in her life and just like how she's dealing with grief. And I feel like she's somebody who we don't really hear that much about in the public light. So when I saw that they were interviewing her, I was like, oh wow, I wonder what she's up to. We all know her from like Disney Channel back in the day, and she's had her various projects throughout, but it was really upsetting and it was really heartbreaking. There were a lot of journalists coming out and being like, they should delete this. Like, this interview, she is clearly not in the right state of mind. Like, something isn't there. Obviously, People magazine, she's the cover story. Like, they're not going to pull the interview when it's literally the cover story, but it was just very heartbreaking. She did end up making a statement saying that she was just really tired. She hadn't been sleeping very well the last few days, and everybody deals with grief differently. And she did say like she was fine in the interview, like she was just had a lot going on, but it was just like really, it was upsetting to watch, and I felt bad that like she had to make a statement about it. And I do think like people had her best in, not People magazine, I think the people, the internet, whoever, did have her best interest at being like, hey, like maybe you should take this down. But clearly she is endorsing the interview and being like, no, like it's okay, like I had a lot going on. Like, she was like, I can't believe I have to even make this statement. She was on the Today Show, I believe today or yesterday or sometime recently. She looked good, she was like talking okay, but it was just definitely jarring to watch and be like, is she okay? Like, what is going on? And my mess isn't her in the interview. My mess isn't like, being like, oh, she looked and sounded a mess, da da da. It's more so the fact that like they should have stopped that interview and been like, hey, are you good? Like, they should have had somebody stop the interview and be like, what's going on? Because it was so obvious in the way that she was answering her questions and the way that she was just responding to things. And like, something wasn't there, whether it was lack of sleep, whether it was dealing with grief and, it was hard for her to talk about it, whatever it was. They should have been like, let's reschedule this. Her publicist, her team, the People magazine team, like somebody should have stepped in and been like, this isn't the best look. Why don't we put a pin in this and revisit it? Not to be rude, but Hayden Panettiere isn't the most booked person in the world. So, like, I'm sure they could have found another date to do it, maybe when she was feeling better, feeling in a better position. But it just felt icky to watch. And like I said, I kind of wish I didn't see it because it just was like, I couldn't look away. Like, I was watching it and I was like, I want to scroll, but like, I feel so bad. I want to make sure she's good. And like, I don't know. I'm glad she made a statement. Like, I'm glad that she was being like, hey, I'm good. Thank you for looking out for me. But like, everything is okay. But it definitely just, it put a weird taste in my mouth for People magazine, which I don't know, just a weird little, a weird little corner of the internet to be on this week to see that. But with that, we have made it to the end of my episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you like what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment down below, hit subscribe, hit the bell. There's so many buttons on YouTube. You can do a lot on that app. Just don't hit dislike. Let's keep things positive over here. If you would like to follow us on social media, we are at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. If you would like to follow me on social media, I am at Andrew Nucatola. And of course, if you are interested in getting a little more sprinkle of pop culture news in your inbox every single weekend, head over to my Substack. It'll be linked down below, and subscribe to Popping In, my weekly newsletter, where I share the extra things that didn't make the podcast, but were still just too pop to handle. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye!